You're just here. Hello and welcome to episode 26 of Healing Vibrations. This is the show where we aim to change perspective of illness, to see if we can really see it as a gift. And today I am really excited to be joined by the beautiful and wonderful Donna Henhoeffer.
Yes, you can say it many ways, so that's perfect. I love it.
I always want to say Hofmeister. Sorry, Donna.
Not at all. It's okay.
So Donna is a body resonance healer. She's also a spiritual coach and she's a fairy. So we will find more about that in a second. And I originally met Donna when I was on my own healing journey. I don't know, this year, I think it was.
It was earlier this year. Yeah. But
earlier this year. And I was asking for guidance and trying to find the answer, and what was coming through to me that it was a spiritual solution, and I was looking for open to receiving a spiritual coach. And then into my life walked Donna through a totally random experience of working with somebody else. So welcome, Donna, and thank you for being part of my journey so far.
Well, thank you for having me, and it's been wonderful being a part of your journey. It was very random, and the beauty of, as people delve more and more into their spirituality and being curious, that's how things happen, right? That's when we jump into life a different way. So I'm excited to be here. This is going to be great to have you lead the charge instead of what we do so much together on the other side. So yeah.
Cool, thank you. So tell me more about what a body resonance healer is.
Perfect. So a body resonance healer came about, and I will of course share my story whenever you're ready, but truly what I do is I work with individuals to open their receptivity channels and truly move the energy, the frequency, and the vibrations that are going on within our body and our energy field into a space where they can clear out what no longer serves them and help bring back in what will help them move in the right direction. So might sound kind of big. The reality is we live in a world of energy, vibration, and frequency. That's been, Nikola Tesla says it, Einstein, they've all, the greats have all explained that. I think the beauty is we get to really, once we get into that space of understanding what it is, I simply get to work with clients from two sides. One, who come to me, looking to, there's things that we can't shift, that we're not designed to shift on our own. So someone like myself would come in, look at your field, open up your channels, so to speak, and really pull out, see some of the holdups that are going on, the blockages, pull out what doesn't serve you. And then the fairy part of me and the resonance part of me brings into the vibrations that you need. So that's kind of the scope of that. We can go in many places. The other part of my work is truly around that opening the receptivity, because the body is our manifesting tool, right? The body is the channel that holds everything from our subconscious and all the programming. So we want to open this up. We want to open this up and be in our body so that we're here on the planet doing what we're meant to do and really being anchored here. So I get to work with the body.
And you sort of thank you, because there was a lot in there. And you sort of mooted a bit that actually part of it was involved in your story. And what I have failed to say up to now, that Donna's actually, and I've written how to pronounce it because I never can pronounce it right, but Donna has healed herself from endometriosis.
Correct.
Said it correctly. Yeah. And so as part of your work now, come out the back of your journey with that condition.
Yes. So endometriosis is one of those incurable by conventional medicine. And I came to this point, which is so it attacks the body, sort of attacks itself, and the endometrium lining grows outside of you. And again, there's many different cases. However, what also happens is your menstrual cycles go crazy, your ovaries, your cysts, you have fibroids, whatever that is. And so my body was ultimately attacking me. And after the journey of far too many doctors and specialists, I decided I was it. I was done. And I stepped on that path without the roadmap. And because my intuition had told me become whole. And I was like, okay, I don't know what that means, but okay, I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen. And that's what happened. So it took me some time. And I say time, but in a beautiful way, because it's a journey, right? So in that, a big part of it was because the body was attacking so much, it was learning how to work with my cells and my own cellular memory, right? And find out through a lot of different techniques, but really what was going on and how I could speak to my body that was speaking back, even though it was raging back. So when I would rage at it, it would rage back. And I came to learn and discover that, and which science proves, is what you're observing is observing you back. So anytime I would force out at this pain that was in me, it just exacerbated, right? So until I got into this rhythm of, how do I do this? And how do I play with you, body? I was able to, again, ultimately heal it, and then step on the path of, understanding where the physical body manifestation comes from, which is all our invisible world. We have an invisible print. Except in all of that, I tuned in so much to the vibrations and the frequencies because I was so depleted, right? My body, like the blood was out of my body. So high anemia, depleted, like, I would fall over at work some days, right? So many things, and the pain and really, it really was me tuning in so much to the vibrations and the frequencies. And now over time, being able to be gifted, I say, because this is a deep spiritual work that I do in my one-on-one practice, in my one-on-one sessions, right? So where I'm working with your guides, whoever's guides, we all have them, whatever we want to call that, your higher self, your intuition, but there's much to it. And I get to pull in, what do you need, right? It's up to the client to do the work on the other side, but really my work came from my own deep understanding and delving right into the very being that I am, right? From the cellular to the vibrational to the blood. I could feel things in my bones that I needed to be like, oh my God, like they're draining, wow. Right? So yeah.
Because coming from me, although I have been doing some work with you, so I'm getting better at this stuff, but although I believe totally it's possible, and my own experience, I suppose, is like, I haven't got a clue what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah. So we want me to touch on that. So let's
go. Sorry, I just like leave you stranded, but yeah, that'd be good.
No, and that, that's a beautiful way to say it, because I think I did. I stepped on a path. I stepped and said, okay, I'm going to do this. What the hell am I doing? Right. So the alternative approaches, I needed to sort of delve into alternative approaches and spirituality. And when I say spirituality from the first space, it's understanding that voice that's talking to us, which one's the human talking and which one's actually the one that's going to help us. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Which is the one that's the softer whispers, which is the one that's actually causing us to be like, you want me to do that? Yeah, that's usually the one you want to follow. The human voice is the one that's going to be like, yeah, don't do that. Right. So very distinct. So when we understand that part of it, the first thing I had to do was flush the stress, right? There's so much stress. So for me, I didn't have oh my God, I'm going to get this thing figured out in a year and I'm done. Right. And I think what happens and where confusion lies for so many people is when you open your space up to, there's got to be something more. Yeah. We then start to suck in and bring in and research and delve in and dabble and all of this stuff. Well, all of this stuff is causing a confusion, because we're finally open to, oh my God, help me. And it takes time to say, okay, because we can learn anything we want until we put that stuff into practice and practice and practice and practice and practice in a way that it is our life. It's like, you know, Yasmilda and I, who's my business colleague, for those who are hearing her name for the first time, until you do something often enough, right? It's just a thought, right? We need to feel it to heal it, and we need to take action towards that, right? So for me, I mean, my hips were tighter than tight. I mean, I would fall over. I did, and I worked a lot with frequencies and sound for a while because I was so depleted. I needed to look at nutrition. I mean, I was a chef. I even studied holistic chefing, right? I needed to bring all that in. And then there came that point over time that I realized, oh, how do I trust my body? So it wasn't, it isn't something that's like, oh my God, it's done. It's how do I do different steps and different things to get me in and towards the right direction? And I think that's often where anyone needs to come to. Anyone that says, oh my God, I healed and it was easy and it was done. No, it's not easy. This is inner work. Our relationship with ourself is what actually caused this. And that's the thing that so many people also are like, oh my God, if I created it, there's no way. There's no way I would have created that. There's no way that I would have asked for something like this. And now you want me to call it a gift? Oh yeah, it is. Yeah. Once you get to unravel like you're doing, because we know what we've been living with, and we want to start at a space, which is, I just want it gone, right? We're starting at the wrong spot. We can only start where we're at. And then as we're able to, because we have that inner resolve, that inner strength that's starting, right? Because we're actually doing something for ourselves to put us in the right direction, then the next piece can come, right? We're complex, and yet it is simple when you put it into practice, which is, okay, this and this. It's like making a sandwich. You don't just pull it all out and shove it together. No, you want to, you got to layer, you got to this, and then this, and then I want to eat it, right? It's everything takes its own form. It's you understanding your habits and changing those forms, and the ones that you do know how to change. Then it delves into, oh, what didn't I even know was even in me, right?
Well, yeah. And I think what you were saying earlier when you were talking about actually recognizing that there was if we cause this, if you like, it's within our control to change things, which is really exciting. And then when I talk about the gift, because that's what it feels like to me, it's the gift that forces you illness when you get to a point of having symptoms that are diagnosed, and the symptoms that you had were quite severe, weren't they? You were in a lot of pain. You couldn't ignore those symptoms. It was impossible to ignore.
I did for far too long. That was the problem.
Well, yeah, this is it. We do. We ignore them, hope that they go away, and then we try and get rid of them because they're not very nice. And it's that relationship that you're talking about with, because I think, because I've written down here, your relationship with ourselves is what created this. Yeah. And at no level are we ever, or certainly I was never taught about how to develop a relationship with yourself.
And we weren't. And I think that's the big part for everyone to sort of get to. This is where the world is opening up, which is, but I think I have a good relationship with myself. I'm doing things. I'm serving people. I'm nice to people. I'm kind. I'm giving everything.
I do great.
All of that is depleting you, because the kindness comes from, oh my God, love it. First of all, bringing some of that energy back to us. We're so good at putting it out there. It's how do we bring it back? And that's the part where it's little by little. And that's where I love the work that I get to do now, which is how do you bring that energy back to you for your presence? How do we get grounded into our own truth? I think the bigger misconception that people have, or maybe the denial that people sit in, which is fair, I was there, is, okay, well, maybe they've had it for a very long time. I was born with this. I've had it since I was 5. It's in my lineage. It's da-da-da-da-da. The truth is, there is this much, the most minute of people, of true chronic illnesses or diseases that cannot be healed. It is not about genetics. It does not come from your genetics as much as we are told that, right? Again, conventional medicine is an evidence-based approach, right? They need evidence. Well, if you've said because of my history, my mother had it, my grandmother had it,
then it becomes your truth.
You're reliving a pattern that isn't actually your truth, right? The field of epigenetics has proven that. And what happens is there are many people in this world that the new sciences, right, that are proving this stuff day in and day out. There's TV channels about fringe sciences. The thing is, it's still too fringe. It's still too woohoo, because let's be serious. Many people in many countries have healthcare plans. They want the government, right?
Yes. Yeah.
They're right to you give me back my health. You pay for this. And yes, there's a space, because we do need support at a certain point. It's just the gift comes when we realize, hold on, why do I keep popping something, right? Why do I keep waiting for a specialist appointment for a year or two, right? And put hope outside of us when, oh my God, in that entire time,
I could have been doing my stuff,
right?
Yeah.
We sit in Facebook groups and in social media and in these realms of give me a pain solution. Let's just sit in pain. You know,
yeah,
I know.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, I've been kicked out of some MS groups because I suggest that we can heal ourselves, even for advertising the MS symptom-free summit. So all it was saying, come and listen to this. Because for me, listening to something like that, where there was 20 plus people who had, and this was just one condition, this was just MS.
Yes.
And in MS, that's 20 plus people, and that's just some of them. I know there's more than that. So that in itself is a powerful piece. This many people have done it. The challenging piece for me certainly is on this road is, but they all did something slightly different. Yeah. They all had to find their own, they all had to build that relationship with themselves.
Exactly. And I think this is the beautiful part. So there's two things I want to share. First, one, which is I've gotten kicked out of so many groups, it's not even funny. And the thing is, that stems from, of course, the person that's created it, the admin or whatever, because what happens is we're using our minds. I'm reading the research. I'm reading the data. I'm hearing it. There's more of you. Who do you think you are? You don't feel in my body. You have no idea. No, I don't. And I'm willing to give it a shot. And I'm willing to give hope to someone else, whatever that is. So that is a path that there are stages, right? And we sit in a space when we aren't strong enough yet, it's more of a victim, and that's okay. That's okay to a point, which is if you're going to stay there, or you become this power freak over here, which is like, I don't have time for that. If I don't have it today.
Yeah, well, I've sort of tried that a little bit as well. I haven't got time to be ill.
Of course. We've been controlling our lives for so long. Well, that control is so trapped in us that our bodies can't even be fluid, let alone the emotions that are coming up. So people are using their minds, which is the most beautiful tool. It's just they're using it so logically, because for so long we've been told we need to do this, to this, to this, to prove, to success, to hero, to whatever. The other piece that comes up is there are so many people. So 20 different people who did 20 different paths, because your experiences in life are going to be different than mine. What works for you is different for you. And that's the thing. People want the prescription. I only need to do that, pop that, I'm good.
And then I'm better.
I need that surgery, I'm good. I don't know how to figure me out, right? Again, flush the stress. Let's get the body clear a little bit. Then we can at least start. And it comes from a willingness. That's the spiritual part. So a lot of what happens, and it's funny because only I would say this year, Yasmilda and I early on really delved into, hold on. And because we do teach human development, we got to get our human on side, and then we teach the spiritual development. However, the clients that have come most recently, 85-90% are spiritually curious. They're not sure what that even means fully, right? You're someone,
well, yeah, that's it. Well,
dabbled a little bit, or you read some things, right? And it's because spirituality is who we all are. We have a spirit that's running through us. It's all about who are we meant to become? What else is possible? We're here to evolve and grow, right? We're not here to stop because I'm comfortable doing that. Sure, you can. For how long, right? That's where.
Well, it's sorry to interrupt, but it's just quite
no,
interesting.
not at all. You know me, I could talk.
Quite interesting, the thought of like being comfortable. We can stay where we are and being comfortable, but I don't know if you've ever noticed that even if you're lying in the most beautiful, comfy, warm bed, you can only stay in one position for a certain length of time before it doesn't become comfortable anymore. Exactly. So you either get too hot or too cold, or you get a bit of a numb bum, or something goes wrong, or changes, or the fact that I think it's that idea, if we stay still for too long, it gets to a point where we have to move.
Right. Yeah, of course. And we're taught that we have to know things, right? We're taught from when we go to school, you need to do this to get your, to move to the next level, to get to high school, to get to university or college or whatever else. Well, look at the world. You can study anything online these days, and it doesn't even cost for half of the things. And yet there's an inherent cost, right? And true healing happens because you're making it happen. It doesn't just happen because you read one book. It doesn't happen because you followed one person. It becomes, I'm investing my time, my energy, and my attention into me a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. You can't go full on in on something with the wrong energy, because then you deplete yourself out the other side, because you expected something that was going to happen, instead of saying, oh my God, my entire life is a gift, right? Back to the gift. So how do I want to move in that? How do I want to live through that? Right?
You definitely, I've written some little gems in there, and I think the spiritual part of it, really getting your head round, or your heart round, what spirituality means to you. And I've written down there is a willingness to find out what else is possible. And I think that's a real real focus, because it's that's the gift of actually recognize that anything is possible.
Anything is possible. And we wouldn't have 8 billion people in this planet almost, and we're all doing the same thing, right? And it comes from, what cultures do things differently. We're in different, I'm on the other side of the pond when we talk about the big pond. I'm in Canada, right? We do things differently here. Certain things, right? We speak differently. And yet we each have from our own experiences, we then have this stuff that's running through us, right? Which is that subconscious that's deep and buried, and it's even deeper than deep than we even think, right? All that behaviors and patterns and programmings and stuff that we don't even know we're doing, right? It's because we've been watching other people, and we're trying to measure up, because we
emulate them, aren't we? So when you had how long had you had your illness for then? Endo, let's call it that. It's easy to say.
I don't even know if I can say how long, because I think it was something that I actually even needed to help them give me the label, which is crazy. Right?
Okay. So you had difficulties in that area.
Yeah. Right. And then when it became such a point, which is, I can't do this anymore, was because I got divorced. Right. So add divorce in that. I moved 600 miles away, add that on top of it.
Right. So your stress levels.
I left a job of 15 years, right? Add that on top, all from I'm not going to say run away. It wasn't, there's parts of that, right? We all run away from certain things. And yet, that was part of the gift too, right? It's just when we truly understand energy and what's going on, I left with the wrong energy. So I needed to resolve things very differently. But the flare-ups then, even I had things under control to a certain point. I was able to, I'm going to use cope, manage, what? I knew what my cycle was going to do. I knew that, okay, I could have 5 days of a month that I'm going to be okay, right? And then there were days that I'm like, I would be in bed for days. I couldn't drink even water. right? Like I couldn't do anything. It needed to be dark. Like it was literally, I mean, the life was sucked out of me. I mean, people who are anemic in any form, that's the blood is sucked out of you so much that it's right. So it was like, I needed to bring life back into my body, which is why I worked with my blood and my cells so much. It's also, I had a huge, so even after that period where things were good, huge flare up when my father died, huge relapse, not just a flare up. It was like vengeance came back. That's when the deeper work started, right? Because there's levels.
So did you realize at that point, so were you always a bit spiritual, or was it really the illness that led you down that path?
Always spiritual. So we could talk the fairy just after that. We'll talk the fairy just after this part. Yeah. Always very spiritual. However, grew up very religious. I was lived in a very, very religious home. My father wanted to be a priest before he met my mother, right? So, I mean, I'm talking, and I've got no problem, because anyone who has lived and followed Roman Catholicism, I grew up Catholic, right? And there's a lot in there. And again, now I understand what the messages truly were. I understand the truth, the bigger spirituality, because that is the world I work in. Well, I was always spiritual, now that I know what that means. However, it was definitely not understood. I grew up Roman Catholic in a very Catholic home, trying to understand what was going on, what the messages really meant, and really trying to honor things, right? So it wasn't until when I really delved on the path of after my divorce, really, that it was like, okay, this has got to change. There were parts, right? Because there are people that will use, yes, I was in yoga, and yes, I always looked at alternative modalities in a certain way. However, that wasn't really the truth of spirituality. Those things bring you to a space of inner and outer connectivity. However, true spirituality then drops you into a space of, okay, what do I have the potential to become? What am I able to do? And then there's another level to spirituality, which is, as we discover more of that, who really are we and what are we really here to do? Right? So there's levels. I don't want to make this about spirituality. However, spirituality is a whole program that we teach. And so there's something in that. The spirituality part for people is, what is more? There's something more. I hear that people are doing great things. I hear that things are, possibilities exist. I hear that there's more out there. I see it depending what I'm watching, and I feel it. I feel this something that's pulling me to do something different. Also, when I spoke to you about, we've got different minds going on, one that's the human and one that's the intuition.
Different voices. It's
the intuitive place that takes us into that depth of our then spirituality, right? So I always was. We actually all are. It's just, where are we and where are we willing to open ourselves up? So the curiosity is what allows us to do that, right? If we could take our curiosity for something that we have in our own work, in our own job, in our own children's lives, our partners, whatever that is, if we could draw that right back into what am I curious about, right? And then what am I curious about that other people do? Coming from, oh my God, that person does that, right? Those people, I'm going to say those people, I don't mean it like that, but culturally, oh my God, wow, that is so not at all, right? That's not at all what I was taught. Then you start to open yourself up, which is, oh my God. And you know what? They're pretty cool, right? Instead of, oh, they don't do it my way, right? They don't know. No, I don't know you, but I want to know, what do they do? And maybe I'm going to try a little bit of that. Because until we try a little bit, right? Until we try a little bit more, we try a little bit more, right? And again, that goes back to why the confusion exists, because we're opening ourselves finally up to, I want to learn stuff that I want to learn, right? I want to know more. And if we keep and never put anything into practice, we will still sit in confusion. And when I say not putting it into practice, putting it into practice long enough that we give ourselves a chance to see what's on the other side, versus starting and stopping, right? And that comes from learning who we are, learning what our bodies are doing, learning what our minds are doing, and what our patterns are, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And coming from someone who's sort of on that journey now, it's no easy task.
Right.
It's sometimes you think you're getting there and you're all attuned and everything's working right, and then the next day you're like, what? No, that's not happening.
Well, I think if I can, that comes from our expectations, right? Of how quickly it should have happened,
yes.
Right. And I think it also comes from, because a lot of times, even if I said to you, because even there was a part you asked me, you know, how long did you have this and whatever, it's like sometimes you even forget, because when you get on that path of, oh, I don't even remember that person in the same way, right? Because you're meant to move through these loops and these channels, which is, I have healed that. I just knew it was going to happen. Where I wanted to be is where I finally got. Where else do I want to be? So it comes from, the expectation is it's going to happen. The time factor is what messes up the human. Because if I said to you, it really would take you 2 years to get to whatever, it's just, we have a version of what healing is. And again, it was easier to heal the physical symptoms than it was to get into what I was really needing to heal. And that is the relationship with ourselves. That's the part. We've given so much outside of ourselves. And that's where people, and until you're on the journey, it can't be explained, because you could have been working on something, and I'm going to use work, but you could have been in this version of healing in certain parts and da, 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 da. And then all of a sudden, when the click happens, that happens and that's done, right? The next person, they never ever started the journey, which could take them, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm way over here, da, 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 and it takes them time 2 years, time 10 years, whatever that is. So we, Yasmilda and I want you to really come into that space, which is, we don't know what your path is, right? You don't know what mine is. I don't know. And it's not for us to,
and it doesn't matter, does it, how long it took? Because it's that's your journey, and everyone else is going to be different. I think because you go.
I want it to be very clear though, because you've already healed things.
Yes.
Even in the time that we've worked together, it's just your version of what you thought you wanted to heal was this big thing versus, all these little things are getting me to healing that big thing. Right.
Yeah. And it's trusting that, isn't it? It's trusting when you wake up and for me, my legs are still like, and I've done that from our last conversation, actually changing that. How can I love my legs more? That's my first little sign to myself when I wake up in the morning, rather than, oh God. and even that takes practice, doesn't it? Changing your vocabulary to yourself.
It takes practice, and it takes an intention and a commitment, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we're not used to committing to ourselves. So the journey is, if I was somebody that committed 5 hours to me every day, you don't think I'm going to be fast getting there quicker than the person that spends 2 minutes? Of course. And maybe not, right? Which is the part that screws people up a little bit, but maybe not, because again, you could have been doing so much. And this is just that bump that when you finally get it, you're like, boom, and it all clicks
together.
Is the day will come when it's like, I don't even remember. Like, I don't fully remember. And yet there's those big pieces that of course we remember, right? I remember when I needed to learn to walk again. And I know for people, right? So that's where I was at because my hips were so tight. It was like, okay, well, how do you want to walk? You've been walking and trudging around and whatever. But for me, it was like, oh my God, I want this fluidity. I want this woman in me to like, right? So it was me discovering and me finding out what is that woman that I want to walk like and act like and be like, right? Because it came from a book that I read and then something else. And I started to take little pieces and I'm like, how am I going to do that? Like, I could never wear heels. I'm actually wearing heels as I'm sitting here talking to you today, because now I enjoy it, right? Because I can. My feet would never. And it was like, I needed to just play as in allow it to integrate, do the actions, right? act the part that I'm healed already as that woman, even if it could have been 4 steps and then I'd fall over, right?
Yeah.
Didn't matter. It was enough that I was telling my body, I care about you. I care about you enough that I'm going to do a little bit, because that's who I want to be. I want to practice being that. And if that is who I am, I want to do her, right? Or him, right? Because again, we work with men, we work with women, same thing. It's men are no different than women. And I think that's even the bigger thing, because you don't work just with women, do you?
No.
Whether that tends to be a big part of your draw in, that's okay. I think we're individuals, and yet we each carry the same, right? Men have feelings, women have feelings. Men are compassionate, men are nurturing, women are. We all have these things. We have a divine feminine and a divine masculine. The feminine is the one that we need to nurture and compassion and love through and heal through. The masculine is the one that heals through, because it's the one taking the action for us, right? That fire force that allows us to act, that's the masculine. It's just, is it power, like strength and power, or is it force, right? And we talk power and force, right, in our work. So there's so much. Anyway, I want to go back to the fairy part, because
tell us about the fairy.
Let's talk about that a little tiny bit for those that are like, what the hell is that, right? Who tells them they're a fairy? So there's a few things. One, for people who get into the spiritual space and they can see spiritual representations of things, people would see me very much as you would a fairy, right? So very much the wings and the enchantment and the beauty and the sparkly and the, flicking along, doing her thing. What for me truly around the fairy is, I have this, I come in with this, first of all, wide-eyed wonder of this planet that we live on. I have always, my big eyes can look at everybody like, I just want to touch y'all and squeeze y'all and poke y'all and be like, oh my God, that's human, right? Like that's what the human vessel is. And then I do that with the plants and the animals and anything that's around me. It doesn't matter, the rocks, everything to me was always this wonder, right? Like this, wow, like truly childlike curiosity. So that is in me, like, I can get very playful at times. And that essence that lies in there allows me, there's something in that I could be talking to you and I could just pull something out of the air and flick it at you, put it on you, touch you in a certain spot. And that's the vibration or the frequency that you need. I never realized that wasn't just something, right? I just was like, oh, bing, right? Or I'd be like, oh, like I wouldn't even, it wasn't even something that I'm like, oh, right? No, it's just, there's this, it's a natural inherent when I am totally anchored and in. I can just pull a certain vibration. Often it was from nature. I would use that because I speak to plants all the time. I can teach people how to do that too, if they're open and receptive to it. And then it just became, I started doing it with the sky and the cosmos, and then playing with it. And
so you can actually feel energy, can you, when you're
yes. And it probably feels me. It's a dual. It's not a one or. It knows that I know that we're the same, right? Right. So when I say to clients, and you've had a session with me, and we won't necessarily dig into it too much, other than it's not me saying, Gina, you need to do this, right? It's me taking you through a few stages in that time that we were together, right? To then say, these actions that you can take, this movement that you could do, this message that they want you to hear, if you stand in that, and I say stand, act, move in those actions, that movement that I would have given you, and I don't know what it is, I'm just moving, right? When you actually do the movement, right? That whatever I would have shared with you.
I can't remember what it was now. Jesus, maybe I'm not doing the movement.
When you do that, it's the vibration and the frequency. And when I say frequency, it's not do this 10 times. It's the oscillating frequency within something, right? right? There's things that are going, when you do that and you find that rhythm, whatever that might have been, that's what your body needs right now to anchor in, to hold in, for you to do, so that you're becoming juicier, you're becoming more alive. It's waking your body up. So and part of that is if the clarity from me wasn't there, or you just weren't willing to say, really she wants me to do that, because that is so not anything I would ever do. Exactly. That's where exactly what healing is, doing something that you've never done.
No.
Because until you can trust that, okay, there's something, because it wasn't me that said it to you. Right? Healers, like I'm going to use energy healers, people that tap into someone else's energy field, right? And do that as as part of their work, their calling, whatever it is. We become an open channel, right? So for me, it's, oh my God, again, I told you, I always played with it. I played with critters. It was just this, oh, there was a beauty and an essence in all of that, that somehow the guides, right, decided to, oh, you can open this person up and see what's going on and play them. Like I play your body like it's a symphony, right? You don't see that. You don't need to know that. You can watch the video of me doing it, but it won't understand anything. It's me. Well, I shouldn't say that. I take that back. It's not that you won't understand, because anybody can understand anything. It's what's the channel for me to trust. I have to trust that what's coming up is something, because for people like myself and you, as you learn your own gifts, or anyone else that may continue down that path of strengthening their spirituality and that guide that lives within them, and the guides that are without outside of them, that when we tap into that, we just get to be the conduit. And for me, because I have that playful, it's like, oh my God, you're like this. And I'm not even somebody that's studied music, nothing. I have wands and I have a piece of music. And it's like, when that's like, it rings through my body. And again, when you're so depleted and you start to bring that back, which is what the heck, how do cells work? How does this happen? What's going on in my body? I tapped in so much. I'm like, oh my God. So what's coming next from them, from me, whatever? I don't know. I'm just staying open to bring it on. Let me play with people, right? And I don't have to play with you in the person because you're on the other side of the globe. I can do it online, right?
Because I'm trying to think back to our session, because I'm going to have to listen to it again, because I think I was out through most of it, if I'm honest, because it was like you go into a very meditative, I went into a very meditative place. I remember being relaxed and but yeah, I don't remember anything else.
We want you there. And I say we, energy healers. So I think maybe I'll maybe for anybody that moves down the path of using alternative solutions, and energy healing is a big one. There's energy work and there's energy healing, and we can delve that a little bit. What an energy healer truly to serve you best is, we invite you. So I would invite any of my clients. It's not me. My energy is meeting your energy. Are you open and receptive? So that's why the work I do is I want to open your receptivity channels so that you rest and trust in the fact that you don't need to know what's going to happen in the session, right? I don't know what's going to happen. I didn't come with these are the things I'm going to do to Gina. Right? I am receptive to what's going to come through. So that energy is going to come together, and then vibrations and frequency, because it's all those things, right? Those three are working in this way that you've opened yourself. Where if an energy healer comes to you and says, I'll just work on you and I'll move things around and great. How long is that going to last? Right? Because if you came there closed that it's not going to work, well, you're already closed. So now the healer has to do double the work on top of it. But if you're still not receptive, you're going to walk away like you would a massage. And it's like, oh, a couple hours later, I'm like, oh, I could have another one of those. Right.
So what can people do then to allow because this is, you don't necessarily need a healer, do you, in order to become more receptive? There's things that we can do ourselves that start opening up these channels.
Everything's a channel. We'll call it that, right? Your pores, whatever you want to, right? So how do you do that? And so One, it is so, and I will come back to the stress, but as we flush some stress, and at the end, I'll share with people a little practice. That is a big piece, because when we can open up part of the channels, right? Because we're creating stress all the time, right? It's a natural cause, and it's a natural part of life. And then you add social media and everything on. What happens though is when we anchor in and we start to understand we have an energy field, right? Our body we have a field of energy that's going on around us, ourselves. Then we also have the opportunity and the skills that we've taught within the program, and people can learn. How do I get in my own field so that I can feel energy, right? Right. The easiest thing is just do this and start to feel energy that's in our own hands. And if you can't, do it with the breathe and intend to look at it and say, I want to feel energy, and put your focus that you're going to feel it, because whatever we observe observes us back. So sometimes we have to just start the imagination going, right?
Yeah.
Right. You could do this, which is just your nails to just wake things up. Right. However, what happens is your own energy, to start, you first need to know that you have it and feel around with it a bit, because there is something that, right, resides, even if you came closely over your own skin. Yeah. Do you feel that coming up? Right. You have to first honor the fact that it's your energy, whether you believe it or not. Then you get into the curiosity of what it is and how do I, but there's a field that's around you, right? That's a part of you, right? So when we can feel that a bit more, we can then start to, again, play with how far can this even go? Can I take, if there's a warmth or what is it? What's going on for you? Can I move that into certain areas, right? Because Reiki itself, I mean, we don't do Reiki, Esmeralda or I shouldn't say, we don't in our practices. She's studied Reiki, and I've done some basic Reiki, but just in that, when you feel that, there's an energy sensation, right? So if you put it to somewhere that your body, I'm going to say, feels contracted or is, right? You can start to just warm and open, right? However, you can do that with your breath as well. The breath is our spirit. The breath is this life force. We want to, again, keep opening up and expanding so that we're giving space in there. If something's this tight, well, just let it go, right? Give yourself some breath in there, right? So that in and of itself is its own form of, the breath is an energy that's working through you. It's just energy itself is.
I think it just, even when you're sort of describing it, I think it's what, I'm not going to say my problem, but what my challenge is slowing down enough to feel it and to be mindful enough to notice it. And I think, and also to recognize, that's what it is. It is energy. It's not, what else is it? What else can it be when you can feel pulsing in your fingers and, strange sensations around?
The other thing is there's an intrinsic gut reaction, a hunch, vibes. When people are like, I don't like their vibe, right? You already know that because we're broadcasting, right? And you know that, and we teach that. It's the slowing down and the mindful of it. And I think for me, because I was depleted, what I would invite anyone to do is do it in the evening. Start in the evening when the lights are dim, right? Bring your circadian rhythm. You want to bring your rhythm down to what's going on outside. When we work in the brightness of the day, well, that's when we're fired up. We want to, until you get to a point, right? Like I'm just giving some, how do you start? Do it in the evening. The lights are dim. Go in a darker room. Slow yourself down so you can slow the breathing down, right? So you've turned off things. Treat it like you would that appointment that you waited for years to get with a specialist, and you're willing to still sit in a waiting room for half an hour to be right. And yet we can't find time to do something for ourselves. Schedule yourself, which again, doesn't feel normal a lot of times. It's unfamiliar because we haven't done it. Sit in a quiet space, give yourself 5 minutes even, right?
Yeah.
When 5 minutes is like, I want to do now 6 minutes tomorrow. I want to do 7 minutes tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's when we can slow the body down, we can listen, right? Then the receptors all sort of fire up. They're like, oh, they're going to listen to me. Which is why when people are like, I can't sleep at night, I'm awake, I'm whatever. Yeah, because your body is finally relaxing. You haven't given it any time to relax. And now you're afraid. So your triggers go off, which is, well, what's going on in my body? What, right? Because we're so stimulated, right? We're so stimulated. We got to come down. We think we're missing out on something. And yet when we really look at it, really, we're living life on repeat in so many ways. We're doing the same thing. We're going to the same place. We're not even loving it. We have no intention behind it. We're just doing. We're doing and doing and doing and doing, right?
Definitely.
Which is what causes us to get sick in some form, some fashion. It might exacerbate pain.
It's definitely our body. It is. I think you've talked about it all the way through our conversation here. The relationship with yourself, and thank you for sharing some of your story, and also telling some really real practical ways that we can get in tune with our own energy and get in tune with our own body. And it's as simple as just making an appointment with ourselves where we've got some quiet time, maybe at the end of the day, go to bed a little bit earlier so you can spend some time just with yourself. Is really important. And we've come to the end pretty much of our hour. So, I know. So you said you would share maybe a little technique or something with us that we can take away and use.
Well, what I thought is I would do a little 5-minute sort of guided visualization, right?
Okay, cool.
Definitely about the body. And so I'm going to invite everyone who's watching to truly close your eyes. And I say that because, again, it's shutting down something that stimulates us and allows us to move into our body right in there. So if you can just take a few breaths, I think that's the best place we can start. Again, when I invite you to do that, breathe with your belly. Oftentimes we don't breathe with our belly. And if we can do that in that same curiosity as a child, because children, newborns, they're breathing with their belly. So allow the breath into your belly, and as best you can, up into your lungs, up to your upper chest if you can. But at the best, just take those breaths. I take a deep breath and become aware of the body I inhabit. I begin to move my shoulders in circles until I am relaxed. I allow all of me to relax, focusing on my breathing. I take a deep breath and start to stretch the body, yawning, massaging, caressing, and moving the joints in circles very softly and slowly. I become aware of every part of the body, from the feet to the head. I feel the energy that goes through all of my body, through each organ, muscle, cell, and atom. I feel the hot and cold currents moving all through my body. They massage me from my feet, moving up, becoming aware of every muscle and bone and organ. I do my best to feel as if I'm discovering my body for the very first time. I feel up my legs, pausing at my knees, then moving up to my hips and around my thighs, And I recognize which parts of the body feel uncomfortable, perhaps annoying, and which ones make me feel pleasure. I allow myself to touch my genitals without feeling ashamed of it. I recognize which parts of my body I like and which ones I don't. I move up to my waist and my stomach, and I caress all around my back, moving slowly across the rib cage and the breasts. And I move under my armpits, around the shoulders and the neck. I caress the body as if it is the person that I love. I caress the face and my lips, my hands and my neck. I take a deep breath. So softly, I take my hands to my chest to feel my heartbeat, to feel it beat with the palm of my hand. I feel my heartbeat. And with the other hand, I go to my neck to feel the pulse of the beat. I breathe, taking a moment to feel and recognize the beat and align myself to the pulse and the rhythm that I am in this moment. And as I connect with the pulse, I become aware of the flow of life within me. I become aware of the exchange of energy, of the giving and the receiving. I sit softly, knowing my heartbeat is with me, that I am alive, and I am here in this moment whenever I choose to find my pulse and my heartbeat. Here, I instantly connect back to myself. I take a deep breath and I relax my hands. And at my own time, I come back to here and now and open my eyes to what is before me now. Yeah. So I hope that allows everyone a space to feel the beauty of who they are and to feel into that space, because it truly takes such a little time. Yeah.
That's nice. That's nice. Thank you. I certainly feel more serene. I feel. Is this nice? That's nice.
Good for everyone, I hope, and definitely comment and let us know how that was for you. So
yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. And I'm going to be sharing the links to Donna's website and her Facebook and all of that jazz. So is there anything else that you'd like to share just before we head off, Donna?
Yeah, I guess a couple things. I spoke a few times about flushing stress, so I'll drop everyone a free link that they can do a free practice. It's literally a 5-minute practice. It's our 3-step process that, you know what, you flush the stress and the anxiety to get that started. When you do that every day is something that, you know what, just to get things moving so that the flush comes out of that energy field. My gift, take it, use it. Don't wait for stress. Use it as a daily tool.
Oh, cool. So yeah.
Then the other thing I'd love to do is just to drop the links to 2 things. One, the program that I'm opening up, which is called Becoming Whole, where we embrace this body wisdom that we have. And then I'll leave the link to to set up just a call, 15 minutes. Let me know where you're at. We do things very differently than Gina, and we all, you know what, we start to pick up things that we've learned from other coaches, mentors, whatever. The program that Gina has joined us in, I could drop the link for that too, to share with, you know,
it's definitely worthwhile
for about it, because it really is about setting a new foundation. How do we anchor in and truly discover what are humans doing, and how do we get that human on side? So anyway, so grateful for you for allowing me to share all of this. I know I'm
thank you so much.
bit of a chatter. There's so much we could talk, but thank you, everybody.
Thank you so